Welcome, everyone. We have been talking about nitric oxide, nitric oxide, nitric oxide. What is nitric oxide? We often wonder about that thing. Now, the whole interesting aspect about it that we eat some nitrates. The nitrates are eaten in various forms, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we eat. Nitrogen compound is present everywhere. And nitrogen combines with the hydrogen and oxygen and all and becomes a nitrate compound. Salt is a nitrate. Don't worry about the chemistry, but it's all combination of all that. Essential elements that exist in the new universe. And that's what creates protein binding in our thing. So nitrates therefore become a very important aspect of our food. For example, they are in leafy vegetables, citrus fruits, pomegranates, beets, very high in nitrates. And of course, eggs, people eat eggs and then meat. But then there are so many other, such elements that are present that have, it's not so much as the universality, but selection. Kale, for example, leafy vegetables and stuff like that. So that all contains high nitrates. Now, when we consume the nitrates, few things happen in the body. When we chew and there's some bacteria in the mouth, they convert the nitrates into nitric acid. And just I'm going to cut short here. There's so many things happen, but they convert it into nitric acid. And that process starts from right there. And then on and on. I'm not going to describe the whole process. However, I will tell you this, that the focus on this whole concept about chemistry and what happens did not occur until 1980s, believe it or not. Even though we were aware of a lot of things that were happening with digestion and everything else. The whole concept of physiology of how this particular compound works was not known. Excuse me. I was practicing surgery 10, 15 years before we were even aware of what the heck nitric acid was. And when we became aware, it was 1990s, believe it or not. 1990s is the first time the whole world of blood vessels and vascular work and everything was hit with this whole idea that there's a compound called nitric acid. And the more we knew about it, the more we call it the wonder chemical, wonder gas. And why was that? Because they started finding out. Before that, of course, the nitrate in another form was introduced already, as we all know, is the product of TNT or trinitrotoluene, which is in the bombs, atom bombs that they create. And from there, nitroglycerin came in, and that was already there in the process. But that was a different type of compound. It was not a pure nitric acid. But nitroglycerin was being used for angina, as all you know. You probably know that it's being used anyway. And that all came and the initial process about this nitrogen and its compound began actually with Alfred Nobel. Nobel is the one who invented the TNT and got basically what happened with Nobel was the fact that after he said how the explosion can happen, there was destruction, and he was so sad about it. He said he made a lot of money because of this particular thing, because everybody in the world started taking up this bomb stuff, because warfare was there. And they really he really felt very bad. He felt horrible about it. He says, this is not a good thing I did. I discovered TNT, but, hey, trinitrotoluene it's called. I discovered that, but it's a horrible thing for humanity. It's a horrible thing. It's more destruction. So Alfred Nobel went into depression. But then he did have money. So that is when he decided that I'm going to use the money to dedicate to the Nobel Prize. And that's how his brother was the one who executed whatever will was executed. I think his brother may have died or something. I don't know exactly the details of that particular story, but that's how the nitrogen started coming into our understanding, how it works within our body. By then, physiology already knew that nitrogen, protein, and all that is needed. So we are aware of that. But how does the element works? The nitric acid element, that was aware in 80s and the 90s. And in the 90s, they found out that the nitric acid itself works on the lining of the blood cells, lining of the blood vessels, lining of the heart, lining of circulation, basically. And what it does is it relaxes the blood vessels. So if you're under tension, high blood pressure, the blood vessel is constricting, all that stuff, and pressure goes up. Nitric oxide relaxes it. It also delivers more oxygen to the cells. And we already talked about that earlier, but I will mention that again. And that happens because we have connectivity, like, for example, an Amazon driver. I gave you this example before. Amazon driver is delivering a package. This is an oxygen package here for us. It's being delivered. So the driver is the red blood cells and also hemoglobin, carries the package, and he has to get a return packet. There's something that you want to return to Amazon. The return package is sitting there too. There's carbon dioxide for us. And he's able to deliver everything. But there's a snowstorm, so the whole snow-covered walkway. So what does he have to do? He cannot walk there, cannot deliver it. The thing that is stuck, the delivery is stuck both ways. So he has to clear up the passage. That clearing passage is done by shovel in his case, but nitric oxide in our case. So nitric oxide is being carried by the red cells, and it opens up this area, it opens up these walkways, on the channels in capillaries in our case, and it allows the oxygen exchange. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Not only does opens up, relaxes the blood vessels, but also allows the oxygen to go in. Now, how beautiful that is that? So that's why they started calling it a wonder drug or wonder chemical, wonder gas. Nitric oxide has been known as a wonder, gas for a while. Then they started looking at into different other areas. So when I was doing vascular surgery and cardiac surgery. That's when in the 90s we started talking about this. Then we found out that there are some people who produce nitric oxide more than others. It is just the way you are, the way you do it. And if you produce a lot more nitric oxide, you're a nitric oxide producer. I mean, that was just a very loose term. I don't think it's used anymore. But we still understand that you can generate more nitric oxide or less and have better advantage to your own body. If you generate enough nitric oxide, you get a good advantage. So now the second part is that if you're not a nitric oxide producer, if less, they found out that people have more high blood pressure, they have more issues, they have more chronic illnesses, they have heart disease, stuff like that. So we started talking about that. Now, are you a nitric oxide producer or not? And that's when some of these strips came in. This is nitric oxide strips, nitric oxide indicator strips. And this can be bought very easily. And you probably see that, you did it with the saliva. And I don't know if you can see it, but this is pink. It's turned pink against the background. And it's got a scale on it. For example, this is a scale. There's a scale here that it needs to turn pink. If you have that, you have better chances with cardiovascular and in general, everything, because it supplies the blood vessels go everywhere in the body. And so the importance came in for not only heart and the circulation, but also other areas. And now it's extending into more areas. And I'm not going to be able to show the slide right now. Maybe I'll show it. But then the concept here extended into the other areas. For example, we knew at that point that there was another area in men when they started having issues with erection, for example. and impotence occurred. And that's where you need a lot of blood flow in the penile area. So that's where the Viagra came in. Viagra is nothing but nitric acid. So Viagra is nitric acid. So, and there are other forms. But I'm just giving some examples of how applications started happening more and more. It's still being used in that sense. We also have nitric oxide working in the cancer area now. Cancer and other research is going on right now as well. So this is a small understanding about what the nitric oxide did to us. And let me see if I can share this slide for you. And now you can notice that the whole spectrum of light here, visible spectrum, X-ray, and all. And there are traditional nitric oxide donors and advanced nitric oxide donors. This donors is nothing. Don't worry about the getting slide. But this is a little complicated slide. But go ahead and outside part of it. Vasodilatation opens up the blood vessels. Tissue engineering, wound healing. Antimicrobial, we talk about that. Antiviral, we talk about that. Anti-cancer therapy is coming in now. Apoptosis, cell signal. Apoptosis is cell death, cell suicide. We have talked about that. Cells have to commit suicide in order to re-engineer and reform all the stuff. If you continue all the bad stuff in the body all the time, we'll get congested with bad stuff. So whenever cells are dying and the amount of work that is there, that has to be used up again. That's called apoptosis. And the neurotransmitters. CNS is a very big thing right now that's studying, and the platelet aggregation. This is a clotting mechanism. So this is the interesting nitric oxide abilities that we have, and we're going to further. Now, I already mentioned about what the foods are there that we need to eat, and I'll put the whole thing up on our WhatsApp group. However, a couple of things about nitric oxide in the mouth care and nitric oxide. Important thing. Just raise of hands how many have or use mouthwash regularly. Raise your hands. Keep it up. Okay. Now, mouthwash contains hexachloroquine or any kind of the mouthwash. They contain hydrogen peroxide, for example, peroxide mouthwash. These contain antibacterial properties, bactericidal. So they kill the bacteria in the mouth. And the mouthwash has been studied quite a bit. And we recognize that reduces the nitric oxide producing bacteria. There are good bacteria and bad bacteria in the mouth. And mouthwashes have been related to high blood pressure, related to heart conditions, related to a lot of things. In fact, they're studying longevity. Interestingly, there's another study that's in the process, and I think I have some data on it. But so mouthwashes, we have to be careful about how we mouthwash ourselves. So avoid all the peroxide or any of the hexachloroquine, whatever that compound is that I cannot pronounce that name. But there are mouthwashes that are antibacterial. They kill bacteria in the mouth. So the mouth may smell good because you killed the bad bacteria, but you killed the good bacteria as well. In fact, after a mouthwash, the nitric oxide regeneration takes 12 hours to regenerate. And this is a data. So we have to be very careful about what mouthwash you use. Second point is that when you use the mouthwash, you can use saline if you want to use anything. Use the saline gargles that we do already. That's not a bad thing. That does not destroy the bacteria. And we keep it. Second part is fluoride. How many use fluoride toothpaste? Raise your hand. Fluoride kills bacteria. Fluoride is a very bad thing. Maybe okay for the animal. Like I said, there are bad and good bacteria. Recognize this part very thoroughly. So when you use the fluoride in a toothpaste, the American Dental Association may recommend because of plaque or whatever other reason is, they are also now getting much more aware of not using fluoride as much in the toothpaste. What do you do about all this stuff? Well, simple thing is when you eat, when you chew your food, one of the things is practical, which I was kind of impressed with, is that do not immediately brush. If you brush immediately after food, you remove the nitrates, the substrate that you just ate, where the bacteria is going to work on. The food is, some of the stuff is there. So you can rinse your mouth. That's fine. But about 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes before you brush. So this is something that has come through with all these studies in nitric oxide. These are all, by the way, these are all NIH papers that I've been looking at. So it's kind of interesting. So now that's one way. Second way to do it is we increase exercises, all our exercises, body level, besides eating those foods that I talked about and studying with your strip. Humming, we've been talking about that. Humming massage. You do that if you're using anything. I don't know the exact timings after brushing or after mouthwash. How long does it take for the nitric oxide to regenerate? There's still some time to understand those numbers. But this is a wonder molecule. This is something that we understand more and more of. And let us be aware of. Let's be aware of it. There's more stuff that coming through and awareness. And we are doing it every day. We're doing it with our exercises. We're doing it with humming. We're doing it with breath practices. I've not gone into breath practices, but breath practices also increase nitric oxide for breath holding, etc. So that's the wonder molecule, wonder drug, wonder gas.